If Project 2025 does get passed, I'll ask for all of us to be in the same jail cell, you know? Not that it'll come down to that. But we can all hang out. The next conservative president must make the institutions of American civil society hard targets for woke cultural warriors. This part is wild. This starts with deleting the terms sexual orientation and gender identity. What? How do you delete the terms sexual orientation? Are you just gonna act like there's no other sexual orientation? That is what I was saying earlier. They're gonna try to restore heteronormativity. The books, page 5. Okay, so down here, yeah, we're gonna read that. We're gonna read books, page 5. Yeah, they're gonna try to, in gender identity, these are both absolutely real concepts. So how are you gonna delete the term sexual orientation? Delete the terms diversity, equity, and inclusion. Gender, gender equality, gender equity. What is this saying right now? This starts with deleting the terms sexual orientation, diversity, equity, inclusion, gender equality. You're gonna remove the term gender equality? What? Gender equity, gender awareness, gender abortion, reproductive health. What? How is this all wokeness? Like, this is what they define as wokeness, and any other term used to deprive Americans of their First Amendment rights out of every federal rule agency. So they're saying right here they want to eliminate these terms and any other term used to deprive Americans of their First Amendment rights. You guys see the backwards logic right there, right? You're going to be limiting people's speech. They can't say gender equality, and your end goal is to stop Americans' First Amendment rights from being deprived. It sounds like in that process, you're depriving Americans of their First Amendment right. Pornography manifested today in the omnipresent propagation of transgender ideology. What? Pornography manifested today in the omnipresent propagation of transgender ideology and sexualization of children. What kind of porn are these people watching? I'm sorry that you guys are all watching transgender porn and sexualizing children. That's not the type of porn that normal people watch, guys. Like, what? Why put porn in the same sentence with transgender ideology and the sexualization of children? I'm acting surprised, but I knew a lot of this stuff. Yeah, let's just delete words. Yeah, this is did Matt Gaetz write this? For instance, is not a political guardian inextricably binding up disparate claims about free speech, property rights, sexual liberation, and child warfare. It has no claim to First Amendment protection. Its purveyors are child predators and misogynistic exploiters of women. Honestly, we're gonna have to reread this a few times because we're gonna have to break this down. Their product is as addictive as any illicit drug and psychologically destructive as any crime. Pornography should be outlawed. Wow. This is why we're doing the research, y'all. Because now we have the words. This is what, page 5. Okay. Good call, whoever told me to look this up. The people who produce pornography should be outlawed. The people who produce and distribute it should be imprisoned. Pornography should be outlawed. The people who produce and distribute it should be imprisoned. Educators and public librarians who purvey it should be classed as registered sex offenders. Whoa. And telecommunications and technology firms that facilitate its spread should be shuttered. This is wild. See, someone said this will never happen, but the thing is, it sounds like it could never happen, but think about it. Donald Trump is going to be appointing tens of thousands of civil servants that are trained, vetted, loyalists. Who's going to stop him? Who's going to stop him from doing this? All of the people that usually would act as the checks and balances, all of the agencies that would usually act as a check or balance to the president would be filled with Trump loyalists who agree with this. So it just feels like it is totally possible. And I'm not saying this is 100% going to happen. We can't know 100% for sure, but I'm just saying, Donald Trump, they'll do everything in their power. In our schools, the question of parental authority over their children's education is a simple one. Schools serve parents, not the other way around. That is, of course, the best argument for universal school choice, a goal all conservatives and conservative presidents must pursue. But even before we achieve that long-term goal, parents' rights as their child's primary educators should be non-negotiable in American schools. States, cities, counties, school boards, union bosses, principals, and teachers who disagree should be immediately cut off from federal funds. The noxious tenets of critical race theory and gender ideology should be excised from curricula in every public school in the country. They're not teaching critical race theory and gender ideology to people in like middle schools or even high schools. Guys, I graduated high school in 2021. We did not talk about critical race theory or gender ideology at all. And yeah, I mean, I did go to school in Indiana, but I guarantee even if I went to school in the most progressive district, we're not going to learn about critical race theory in 6th grade. Critical race theory is for law students who want to look at everything through a new lens, the lens of race. These theories poison our children, who are being taught on the one hand to affirm that the color of their skin fundamentally determines their identity and even their moral status, while on the other, they are taught to deny their very creatureliness that inheres in being human and consists in accepting the giveness of our nature as men or women. I didn't even know this was a word, creatureliness. Project 2025, also known as the Presidential Transition Project, is a collection of conservative policy proposals from the Heritage Foundation. We already have we're going to read more about the Heritage Foundation, to reshape the United States federal government in the event of a Republican Party victory in 2024. Established in 2022, the project has been most notable for how it aims to achieve its objectives. It proposes reclassifying tens of thousands of merit-based civil servant jobs as political appointees in order to... So this is what I was just saying on stream 20 minutes ago. If you guys have been here for the past 20 minutes, this is exactly what I was saying. It proposes reclassifying tens of thousands of merit-based federal civil servant jobs as political appointees in order to replace them with loyal conservatives to further the objective of the next presidential or Republican president. It also adopts a maximalist version of the Unitary executive theory. The Unitary executive theory is a legal theory in the United States constitutional law which holds the President of the United States. It holds that the President of the United States possesses the power to control the entire executive branch. Project 2025 is the Republican plan to fire tens of thousands of qualified civil servants and replace them with people, and we should quote Project 2025 directly here. I think that would be powerful. Let me find this. Project 2025 is the Republican plan to fire tens of thousands of qualified civil servants and replace them with, quote, aligned, vetted, trained, and prepared conservatives to go to work on day one to deconstruct the administrative state. And that is on page 14 of Project 2025. Project 2025 adopts an extreme maximalist version of Unitary executive theory. A theory that says that the president possesses the power, to control the entire executive branch with no checks from Congress or the Supreme Court. That's wild. That is what I'm saying. So, Donald Trump will fire tens of thousands of qualified civil servants and replace them with aligned, vetted, trained, and prepared conservatives ready to go to work on day one to deconstruct the administrative state. Something I'm also realizing is that Donald Trump keeps saying he's going to be a day one dictator. Day one dictator? Isn't day one the exact words that Project 2025 uses? They use day one a bunch, which honestly, is Donald Trump quoting Project 2025 when he says that? Do you guys get what I mean here? Look at this. Our goal is to assemble an army of aligned, vetted, trained, and prepared conservatives to go to work on day one to deconstruct the administrative state. Trump allies pre-screen loyalists for unprecedented power grab. This is wild. They've been making, this is called the Mandate for Leadership. People call it Project 2025, but if you can read up on the top left right here, it's called the Mandate for Leadership. They've been making Mandate for Leaderships since 1981. Since 1981, they've been doing different versions of this Mandate for Leadership, and Reagan enacted the first one. Reagan enacted 60% of it, and then since 1981, they've released a new Mandate for Leadership every election cycle for every Republican. Project 2025 is the most extreme rendition we've seen yet. Yeah, it's a mandate on Republican leadership. I keep saying Trump. I keep saying that Trump is going to be the one that like would enact this, but it is for all Republicans. I'm just saying Trump because I want it to be Trump. Okay. You guys know what the Overton window is? This is what they're saying right here. Yeah, I could cut and paste it, but I'm putting it in my own words. The Overton window is how much you can move the current discourse over to an extreme. So a really good example of this is Bernie Sanders moved the Overton window in America during 2016 and 2020. Socialized universal healthcare was not even a proposal that was talked about in the mainstream. A lot of Bernie Sanders' proposals then became a part of the mainstream discussion. So another good example of this, let me think, I just had one in my head. It's basically just trying to push. Also, Donald Trump, Medicare for all of these different things, moving the Overton window to something that is unthinkable. What I was thinking is Andrew Yang, which I don't like him anymore, but do you guys remember when Andrew Yang basically proposed this universal basic income? And by doing that, he was able to move the Overton window and turn it into a mainstream thing. So at one point, universal healthcare was something that was unthinkable. If you could look right here, it was unthinkable. Then Bernie Sanders proposes it, and people are like, this is radical. Then Bernie Sanders champions it even more, and people say, okay, this is acceptable. Now I'd say universal healthcare is pretty sensible and almost even popular, and then at some point it becomes policy. So what we're reading right here is that the Heritage Foundation, let me go back to this. The Heritage Foundation published the 6th edition of the Mandate for Leadership. This edition of Mandate was just 156 pages long. According to Heritage, the shorter length reflected that policies and ideas from the early Mandate editions had by the time of this publication largely become part of the mainstream debate. So this is what pushing the Overton window is. During Mandate 2 and 3, these were extreme ideas. Yeah, Denver forgot to bark. He just looked at me when I said his name. These were seen as extreme ideas, but they were able to push the Overton window so far that by the 6th one, the ideas were part of the mainstream debate. Okay, so what I'm worried about is that all of these proposals in this current version of Project 2025 that are deemed extreme will someday be part of the mainstream debate. That is wild to me. This document is like if it was written by everyone who was at January 6th and like the QAnon people. The QAnon people are actually, yeah. And now I understand how the Heritage Foundation has gotten more and more extreme over the years. Because as we were saying earlier, if you're just joining the stream, the Heritage Foundation has been doing Mandate for Leaderships since, let's go back to this. Since 1981, they've released a new Mandate for Leadership every election cycle, slowly becoming more and more extreme. And the reason why they're so extreme this time around is because they are full of QAnon freaks. The actual QAnon people in the Republican Party are, they can take everything away from us, but not guns. Like they can ban porn, but they can't control or regulate guns. What did you miss? You missed some crazy stuff. I'll just read this sentence. Pornography should be outlawed. The people who produce and distribute it should be imprisoned. Educators and public librarians who purvey it should be classed as registered sex offenders. Also, I don't know why I didn't mention this. Public librarians and educators aren't showing pornography. They teach sex ed. For public institutions to use taxpayer dollars to declare the superiority or inferiority of certain races, sexes, and religions is a violation of the Constitution and civil rights law and cannot be tolerated by any government anywhere in the country. That's not happening. No one is saying that any race is superior or inferior. They're just making stuff up. Promise number 2. Dismantle the administrative state and return self-governance to the American people. Of course, the surest way to put the federal government back to work for the American people is to reduce its size and scope back to something resembling the original constitutional intent. But the only thing is, this is not what the original constitutional intent was at all. Because remember, they're promoting an extreme version of unitary executive theory, which is something that we learned about a little bit ago, which says that the unitary executive theory is a theory saying that the president should control the entire executive branch with no checks and balances from Congress or the Supreme Court. That is not constitutional. If you go back to the inception of America, as we read earlier, the Supreme Court and Congress have been checking the president since the inception of America. So if you want to talk about unconstitutional stuff. Conservatives desire a smaller government, not for its own sake, but for the sake of human flourishing. Really? You think more social safety nets from the government would stop human flourishing? We can look at some of the most successful countries and they have great social safety nets provided by the government. Yeah, make sure you hit the like button. The Heritage Foundation, the conservative think tank, published their first mandate for leadership in 1981, which was a detailed plan on how to reduce the size of the government. Since 1981, they've released a new mandate for leadership every election cycle, slowly becoming more and more extreme. Project 2025 is the most extreme rendition we've seen yet. In 1981, the first mandate for leadership already began as an attack on civil rights. President Ronald Reagan passed out copies during his first meeting with his cabinet. Reagan then recruited the authors. Reagan then enacted 60% of the proposals in his first year. Donald Trump also enacted about 60% of his proposals. Thank you, Sue Woods. We're going to be doing a lot of streams going all through Project 2025. We're literally reading through the document right now. Thank you, Brandon Clark. Sorry, I had a long few days since the debate, so I haven't opened my Instagram DMs. I haven't even been on Instagram, to be honest. But the pro-family promises expressed in this book and central to the next conservative president's agenda must go much further than the traditional narrow definition of family values. Every threat to family stability must be confronted. Oh, I can't wait to hear this. What are their threats to family stability that they're going to lay out? This is why they wanted to make it 900 pages. Yeah, Angelic, because and because man that you own in a debate, and because by it being 900 pages, they think that basically no one will read it. No one will read through this crazy stuff. But if you're going to make it 900 pages, don't start putting the craziest stuff on page 5. Jesus. All right. This resolve should color each of our policies. The resolve to restore family values, they're saying. Consider our approach to big tech. The worst of these companies prey on children like drug dealers to get them addicted to their mobile apps. Many Silicon Valley executives famously don't let their own kids have smartphones. They nevertheless make billions of dollars addicting other people's children to theirs. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. If we take a step back, yeah, a lot of people are addicted to TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, but they're saying that they're addicted for the wrong reason in Project 2025. And also, I guarantee on the next page, all of their prescriptions will be absolutely wild. So yeah, kids are addicted to TikTok, but not for the reason that these people think. A decision that for 5 decades made a mockery of our Constitution and facilitated the deaths of tens of millions of unborn children. Not true. Conservatives in the states and Washington, including in the next conservative administration, should push as hard as possible to protect the unborn in every jurisdiction in America. In particular, the next conservative president should work with Congress to enact the most robust protections for the unborn that Congress will support while deploying existing federal powers to protect innocent life and vigorously complying with statutory bans on the federal funding of abortion. So they want to take it further. This is what Biden should have said in the debate. Not only did they overturn Roe v. Wade, but they genuinely want to ban abortion. They want to ban abortion. This is wild. And I hope we've all learned one or two things from the stream so far. I've learned a lot. I've read through a lot of Project 2025. I've read through a lot of the craziest sections, but just rereading it and being able to break it down is wild.